Yeah. I obviously that's the place to start. But I'm a fan of the old Slater here.
As am I, actually. We should be live now. At least the Periscope link went out. So what's going on, everybody? Live before lock, and there's the YouTube tweets. Now we know we're good to go. Monday, January 14th. Myself, Fast Eddie Fear, breaking down this lovely six-gamer. Eddie, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. My wife's favorite uncle, last remaining uncle, but someone she was really close with, just passed away about 2 hours ago. So usually I get in early to work, do a couple hours of research in the morning, and then I'm busy working on research for the slate from like 4 to 6, and I lost all that time making travel arrangements and things of that nature. So for what I think is only the second time this year, I will not have rankings up today. So my apologies to anyone who uses those as part of their process, but it doesn't look like a massive amount has changed as opposed to from this morning. I looked into this slate this morning and I'm like, oh, there's like no value. I don't know how to build anything, and then that's no longer the case.
Yeah, Kyrie got ruled out like 15 minutes after Adam and I finished up today. So, and then
That
it was
show
just a
must have been
snowball.
really useful. That
Yeah.
was a really useful show with Capella in and Kyrie and Smart in at that point. So
Everything. There wasn't a single piece of news. I was like, so I've got like weighted numbers to see how my player pool will build out on Yahoo and FanDuel and whatever. And my average salary based on weighted ownership was like $298 on a $200 cap. I was like, this should be interesting. And now it's in the garbage because there's value out the wazoo now.
have they and they really, I believe, tightened it up intentionally on Yahoo. Like for the first couple weeks, even with their rake free thing, there were a lot of super cheap $10 guys who were really good, and it's actually changed the roster construction a lot. That, and again, I haven't looked at it in several hours now, but there were like only that number has come way down. There's been a couple days where it was like I don't like anybody at 10. Like you had to run Austin at 12 and Biombo or Hernan Gomez at 12. Like I remember there's been a couple days that the value has been a little bit thin. I don't know where we're at with that today, but I know like Rozier is at 19 and
Yeah, that's the crazy one.
yeah, Jalen Brown's at 16. Yeah, Rozier is hilariously, he's still very, very good.
Yeah.
Like 19 is still too cheap, but not as preposterously cheap as DK at 37 and FanDuel at you can drop him should things go awry.
Absolutely. Quick housekeeping notes. As usual, we are brought to you by Thrive Fantasy. If you go to bit.ly/awesomeo, link is being dropped in the chat right now. You can get $10 on your first $10 deposit, 20 on 100, and 50 on 200. I'm going to pick a couple props throughout the show and get Eddie's take on them. Adam and I looked at a couple this morning as well. And then if you want to join up with us, live before lock is the promo code, one big word, and you get 50% off your first monthly package. So any monthly package you choose, it can include Fantasy Cruncher, you'll get 50% off. So I think the place to start that's probably deserves the most focus, Brooklyn and Boston. How many Celtics is too many Celtics? Seems to be a popular question.
It's very site dependent, but I think the correct number of Celtics, if you were building one lineup on FanDuel, is 4.
Agreed.
It might be 3. It's no less than 3.
No.
Right?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, Jalen Brown is expendable, but it's really hard to get away from obviously Rozier and then Hayward and Morris at their prices.
I am in full agreement with you so far. There's enough spots to go elsewhere on Jalen that you don't have to feel totally bad about it. Still a fantastic play in and of itself.
Yeah, but he's got the most obvious floor.
Yeah.
Just Morris and Hayward are too cheap.
Yeah.
And we've had games this year where, Kyrie was out and Hayward wasn't very good, but that's back when he was clearly far from 100%, which he appears to be functioning at very nearly right now. And he's been exceptional the last 2 games that Kyrie's been out of the, I think it's 4. I think Kyrie has sat 4 games this year. Rozier's awesome. I don't even want to get into it. I will say, actually, because this is a label for me. On FanDuel and DraftKings, I'll go ahead and drop the 100% Terry Rozier tag. Yeah. I'll go ahead and put the label on him for the 7th time this year. Something has to go extremely weird for him not to pay off those prices. I'm curious what you have him projected for. I have him at 33.25 fantasy points.
I have him at 31.5 on FanDuel. By all accounts, the exact same thing. He's projecting at a more than 50% rate of being able to provide like really nice GPP value.
Yep.
It just I have him at 90% of my lineups on FanDuel right now.
Yeah, I would play him in 100% of lineups on FanDuel and DraftKings. And again, I throw that out once a month, and I'm like, I think like 18 of my last 19 times saying it over the last couple of years. It's not something I frequently say. He'll be. I haven't looked at our projection. Again, I've been doing other things for a couple hours. I presume we have him north of 80.
Yeah, low 80, 83 on FanDuel, 84 on DraftKings. We just had an update actually right before we went live. That's what it was previously, and nothing's really changed. So I assume we're still somewhere in that neighborhood. Yeah, 86 on DK now.
Yep, that's about what the number should be. And I think there's a less than 14% chance shit goes sideways. Like there is obviously you have the uber upside of I'm not going to play him. I'm going to play. There's a couple other point guards in that range that I don't hate. I'm a little bit into the Tony Parker thing. Pat Beverly on FanDuel again, especially where you can drop it. They've been having him close. Last game he had 33, 34 minutes or whatever. He got, or maybe even more. But they ran him back out there for the big minutes again. In the closing in a close game and in a that environment that fast, I'll take a couple shots of that. So if you decide to go underweight, say even run 50%, and somehow Terry Rozier sprains his ankle, you're gonna rake. Like you're gonna in theory pick up a lot of money. But like he even needs to sprain his ankle by the second quarter,
right?
Because if you give me a half, I'm probably okay. So
absolutely,
you got to do it in a hurry. So yeah, if somewhere between 12 and 18% of people won't pay him. More likely than not, those people are being too cute and going to pay the rake.
Yeah,
it's just too good. It's Brooklyn. It's a guy. I don't even think it's worth talking about. The other pieces are interesting. That to me is not really. Just remove a guy. Yahoo. Okay, you can get away from it. 19. Now he can just have sort of a bad game and get 24 fantasy points, and there's enough nifty value options. I don't have a problem. I still like him. He still projects out as one of the best point per dollar plays on the slate, but not as preposterously ratioed as FanDuel and DraftKings.
I have him in 4 of my 10 on Yahoo. Because
that's about where I would be thinking is a good spot.
Yeah. Rozier, he might actually be the best value play of the entire year right now. Relative to the rest of the people at his position for a particular day, where his price is with the other people out. I can't think of many where there's been such a gigantic gap between him and everything else. Have we had another day where people were over 80% and there were 6 games on the slate?
One of the Kyrie days. One of the other Rozier days.
Yeah. Like his just insanity.
Yeah, he's it's only my second for this calendar year, counting preseason, regular season, 100% calling. It's better than that one. So yeah, it's the best current value play of the year.
And FanDuel is just treating like the entire Celtics roster is just criminally.
FanDuel had already taken the entire Celtic. I mean, 5,200 for Hayward I was a real fan of that price already. Like I was gonna be like the upside is in here now. Like I'm not asking for anything crazy. If he gets at a shitty small forward position, like I had him in there with Mirotic, with guys that are like, look, I don't particularly like this position. These guys can get on top of that price. They're cheap enough now that you can get 30 out of Hayward, 35 out of Mirotic. That may very well be good enough because of the way FanDuel scores. DraftKings, because all the multi-position shit, that's a little more tricky. But now it's like, if you look at the last couple games with Kyrie out, you got an extra, whatever it was, 8% usage out of Hayward, and he had, 50 fantasy points average in those 2 games and was just crushing people. So you don't need anywhere near that. But, so for me, it's for order of wanting to get them in there, setting aside ownership for a second. It's pretty clearly Rozier, number 1, clearly. Hayward, number 2, clearly. Morris, number 3, clearly. Probably Jaylen Brown because it's FanDuel, number 4, clearly. Then on to Horford, then moving into the more interesting questions. I mean, that's where I would have them, just likelihood that they smash their price.
In a vacuum, I prefer Brown to Morris, but Brown is also projected to be twice as owned as Morris. So in that regard, I can pretty easily get to Morris. Like it's a coin flip, or 55-45 for me, Brown.
Yeah. It's just a minutes thing, I guess. I mean, Brown, we have to have it, 30? What do you have him projected for? 37 minutes?
Oh, way less. 31.
Oh, okay. How many do you have Morris for then? 28?
I do. 28 on the dot.
There you go. So would think that Brown, that's interesting you have Brown for that little. I'm trying to think how the backcourt rotation is going to go.
With the Celtic, like Brad Wanamaker gets some minutes. They'll toss a couple extra to Semi. Stevens isn't the type of guy that's just going to ride these dudes into the ground.
Speaking of Semi, Coming to America 2 is going to be made.
I saw that.
I am agog with Semi. You have disgraced yourself and you must be punished. Sorry, I'll go there all day. We should move on because I will Coming to America for 2 solid hours.
So, what do you like from Boston on DraftKings? Because this is a very different equation. Terry Rozier notwithstanding.
Yeah, I still think I pull into Gordon Hayward number 2.
Yes.
Like we have a couple game sample of, Kyrie isn't out and him just doing, stupid things and giving you 40, whatever. And I don't think that is apropos of nothing. I think he suddenly has, potential assists go, like I would project his assist to go from 3 to 6.5. And it's just, it's a really nice spot, and there is a big ceiling. Like you can get 50 out of him, and at 5,300, that's still like pretty safe. Like I have him projected for a little more than 35. That feels pretty good. So Hayward is where I'm going to land second. After that gets a little more interesting because as opposed to I think it's 51 on FanDuel for Morris, you're at 58 on DK. That's a little stickier. And you have Hayward with the multi-positional eligibility, and then there's Tatum, whose name we have not yet spoken.
We have not.
I
have a little bit of information for you. Tell me what you think on this little daddy likey here.
Ooh, okay.
Gordon Hayward ownership on DraftKings right now, 11%.
Wow, I love it. I presume even you are going to triple it, roughly.
I would be a bit above that. Yeah.
Yeah. 11 seems insane. I will go ahead and say bullshit. I love our ownership projections. I occasionally bullshit them. I will bullshit 11% Gordon Hayward, and we will know. We will do this. I will go ahead and throw my spoon out there around 18 or something. But
yeah, I'd probably have like 40 or so.
Yeah, I don't get me wrong. It's either way. I want get on top of that, but yeah, it gets really interesting after. What do you think about Tatum? Like he's an obviously massive leverage play. Now he's not as massive a leverage play as I thought. If Gordon Hayward's only 10-15% owned, I thought Gordon Hayward was going to be 20, 25, 30% owned, and then if you get Tatum at 8 or 13, what do we have Tatum
at? 6.
Yeah, well, okay. I mean, like that has a lot of, direct value if you go there. And on DK, I bet we have Morris at like 10. I guess a little bit more.
9.
9? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We're speaking the same language.
Yeah.
And let's not completely, sleep on Al Horford at center versus the Nets.
So that's one that I am sleeping on.
Okay.
But I would like him more on DraftKings than I do on FanDuel today. Just because of the eligibility and the ability to play multiple centers. I have a hard time really wanting to get to Al Horford as my solo center on FanDuel today.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a lot of reason, obviously, to go with Nurkic. There's some interesting value options. There's Marc Gasol, certainly in that situation with Capella out now. He clearly has a ceiling as high as your Marc Gasol ceiling is going to get, just about. So yeah, I think I'm fine with that. But yeah, on DK, I think I would expect you to be against the field because it is a strong leverage play over some of the other guys. But again, if the Celtics are going to be that low owned, which again really surprises me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm really excited. I'm really anxious to see Hayward's ownership at lock because that's the only one that I find. Jaylen Brown, if you're interested, 41.
I'll take the under on that actually being the case. I would think about 35 or something, but he's 4,300 there. Like, he's just so much better on FanDuel where he's, I want to say 4 flat.
But the only difference for Brown is having guard and forward eligibility. That creates the ability to be used as a Swiss Army knife in a lineup.
That's true. I rarely take that into account, or I don't take it into account as much as I should. So that is going to prop him up a little bit. So yeah, I can totally see that being the case.
You can basically put him in every spot but one. Yeah. Well, not every spot but one. But like you have
small forward, just small forward.
Small forward, power forward, I believe.
Oh really? Okay.
Yes, small forward, power forward.
Yeah, I don't know why they bother with the positions anymore.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Brooklyn's interesting.
They are interesting now. No Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, so he is not back yet.
Yeah.
No Shabazz Napier. No. Who else am I missing? Jared Dudley.
Jared and Allen Krebs. But circa breakfast time. I was like, this is really interesting. I like 7 Celtics. Well, not breakfast time, but about lunchtime when we had the Kyrie situation and when Marcus Smart was ruled out before he was ruled back in, before he was ruled out again. I was like, wow, this really not good that I like, 6, 7 Celtics and no one on the Nets. But I didn't like anyone on the DK. The D'Angelo Russell price was obviously too cheap. I imagine he's going to be pretty popular. I imagine we'll see him at I bet he's got a number next to his name. I'm going to guess it starts with a 3, but there's going to be a lot of D'Angelo Russell. Yeah?
Let's start with the 3.
Hey, there you go. So D Russ, but now at this point, we're not dealing with, I thought we might get 18, 20 minutes of RHJ. He's not in, and then Shabazz Napier disappearing. That opens up a lot of time. Now, it's still the Nets, so they are going to spread it around and screw everybody which way from Sunday.
I have 11 guys in right now, which is just always super irritating.
I think I have 10 off the top of my head. But yeah, we're going to get into the Treveon Graham, who's going to, again, last game started and played the blowout run and ended up with 29 minutes. Theo Pinson is going to get time. So, yeah, bleh. It's so you want to like somebody. I will say, though, the news of those 2 guys out now, I think he played Joe Harris. I think he played on Yahoo where he's like $13. I mean, it's still a not great matchup, but you can fall into some Joe Harris. You can fall into some Damari Carroll now with a little more confidence in tournaments. There's guys on this team. Rodion Skuruks, where he's still 30-something on DK. You can land on that as a punt now in tournaments. So it makes you feel a little better that if you are on one of these 4 Celtic teams, not on FanDuel though. FanDuel, I've got a cash lineup. I've got a GPP lineup in front of me. I have 8 Celtics and 0 Nets combined in those 2 lineups.
Okay.
I
get it. The
I lied. I have 7. I have 7. But still, I don't have any Nets. I'd like to, especially the FanDuel pricing.
I'm a big fan of Dinwiddie now.
Yeah, the biggest reason I'm not, and this is never a good sign analytically, is he just hasn't gotten there the last few times I expected him to. The games with other guys out in the really nice spots, and
he's due.
We're at but he also got a giant contract extension and then disappointed 10 games in a row. So
he did. He seems to be enjoying that paper for the past month or so.
Right, and I don't like to be negative. I don't want to throw junk at the guy, but yeah, at this point, it's like on a day where there are so many plays I like for a 6-game slate. I mean, I'm really agog with guys I like in this slate. Throwing 5,700 at a guy who hasn't seemed like he's given a shit in almost a month. Doesn't so I get it. It's obvious. I mean, it makes all the sense for them. I'm sure we have the same reasons. He's like 5,700 or something. FanDuel makes a perfectly interesting compliment. It is 4% ownership. Like I'm all about it, but didn't make the 2 lineups I'm looking at on FanDuel. But I would certainly have some.
Sure.
At some point, if he has a decent game, the spot is certainly there, and obviously the correlation plus the low ownership makes a ton of sense.
All right, let's hop out of this Boston-Brooklyn game unless you have anything else you want to touch on here.
Good to go.
We should be able to take a quick lap through this one, or at least I hope so. Rockets and Grizzlies. Rockets now without Clint Capella. Hasn't really changed anything for me for Harden. He's still James Harden. He's still going to shoot 800 times today. He can go 1 for 17 and still provide value. So
that was amazing. 1 for 17 from 3 and 75 fantasy points was, again, I was over the weekend. I'm kind of minding the story the whole time. So I'm in Slack chat, 9 hours a day talking about it. And as that game unfolds, it's just like, oh my God, if he could make a shot. Oh my God, if he could, because I was pushing for him really hard. That's actually, and this leads me to something else I wanted to discuss and I wanted to get your take on. The world was infinitely low on ownership. I'm so interested to know what his ownership is going to be today, because yesterday, finally, everybody woke up. It took it being a Sunday, and it took him being, a demigod for 12 consecutive games or whatever. But finally, people, and what was really interesting to me was everyone at Awesemo is going, not highly enough owned, not high enough owned for 2 weeks. We're all sitting here going, play him, just play more, just play more. He keeps being 30% owned, 40% owned. He's superlatively the best play on the slate. He was, maybe not the best one of those 12 games, and yesterday was not in the best possible DK lineups and wasn't in like the top 5 in tournaments. But it's one of the reasons you should like him more today, because outside of Anthony Davis, like, who else is going to fill in that spot? Yesterday it didn't work out because you got Jokic and Steph Curry for $2,000 to $3,000 less, putting up 5 and 15 points less. So that's that interesting thing whenever you say, is James Harden worth it? There's the correlative question of, are the other studs going to get there, and is there enough value to where you can play him without having to play shit that's costing you points on the back end? So, but yesterday, finally, we had him in the ownership projections at like 34 and 36, and he was owned yesterday on the main slate, like 58 on DK and 65 on FanDuel.
Finally.
Everybody woke the fuck up and went like, hey, this guy's scoring an average of like 75. And so it's like, okay. So I'm hilarious to see now in which this is the most fadeable spot he's had. He played 43 minutes last night, back-to-back against Memphis. I guess they're at home, so it could be slightly worse. Capella's out, so that adds... I do think that makes him... I'm curious what you think, how that affects him. Because it obviously makes him, to some degree, less efficient, because teams can now sell out even more to jump up and down on him. It's not that Nene is a waste of space.
I was just going to say, not a big Nene or Isaiah Hartenstein believer here.
But all right, so I'll pivot to that and say the other thing is, I don't think they run a true center 48 minutes. I've seen a number of sets of projections for today. I think you get a very healthy dose of PJ Tucker at the 5. Yeah, I'll say at least 10 minutes. So I see a lot of people going like, Nene's going to play 20. I want to play Marquise Chris or Isaiah Hartenstein because those guys are going to add up for 28 minutes. And I'm like, no. I'm almost certain that isn't going to happen. PJ Tucker can, just body up and keep shoulder checking Marc Gasol all goddamn night. I don't know if it's going to work, but he'll get out there and try it. That dude is fearless. I love me some PJ Tucker. He's not good in fantasy, although at this point, Mr. Corner 3 and whatever, 4,400 on DK. I'd have a couple shares in 150.
Yeah, I like him more in games that are going to be a little bit more up and down. Opportunities are few and far between in this one. No, I'm not like. I agree, but if I were playing 150 lineups, I'd get some.
Yeah, exactly. I like it's 4,400 on DK, and I still think fairly cheap on. I think 13 on Yahoo is the number, but I like extra time. I think I have him for 42 and a half minutes. Is where I ended up with PJ Tucker. I think he plays if this game stays close, I think he's out there basically forever.
Yeah, I have him in for 38. I tend to never go over 40 on the off chance that this game goes to garbage. But if you told me PJ Tucker played 42 minutes, I'd be like, yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, so I like that, and I like playing center for a little better, rebounding possibility and whatever. So, I have a little bit of interest there. But I do want to say that about the center minutes. Other than that, someone else on this team should score, but I don't really like any of the other Rockets. I think, Ennis is in there now sort of clouding up the 3 minutes a little bit. So both Daniel House and Gerald Green are ceding a minute or two. Brandon Knight, do we have firm? Is he going to be back? Because that, costs Isaiah Thomas only playing 36 minutes.
I have him in for 2 minutes right now.
That's hilarious.
I mean,
I'm surprised.
He's more like he's been washed so many times now.
I'm surprised you bother. Yeah, he was really good too. I don't know about really good, but he was, a quality NBA player. So it's just I always hate it when injuries derail guys like the Ken Griffey Jr., Grant Hill, etc. of the world. Always makes me so sad. Yeah, like what that guy could have been.
So any real no, we don't have anybody above 6% ownership on Houston outside of obviously James Harden.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see what his number is. No,
higher than it was going to be 12 hours ago.
My next guy is Tucker.
Okay,
the man in his dream would be my next guy. Memphis, I'm interested in your take here. What's your favorite of the Kyle Anderson is no longer here scrubs? If you have to pick between Justin Holiday, Garrett Temple, and Shelvin Mack, who's your guy?
Probably Garrett Temple, but not as if it's between Temple and Mack. It's not Holiday as of right now. I could really go in either direction. Temple's clearly worse, but I think Temple plays more minutes, so I don't know. Neither of those things are very sexy.
That was very much like some terrible fuck, marry, kill with like, okay,
Awful people.
Saddam Hussein, and that was not. Yeah,
It's brutal.
I think that's about the appropriate take. I think I'm on Temple over Mac very slightly, but I agree that those are the two choices. Justin Holiday, oh my God, like he's always been like not a good basketball player, but his volume guy. Where in Chicago they were apparently like, yeah, we know you're not shooting very well, but that's cool if you want to take 20 shots a game. We're cool with that. I was always like, all right, it's an interesting way to coach, and they just ran him out there infinite minutes. Since he got to Memphis, he just doesn't fit in the system, and so they just like work around him, so his usage isn't there. And so the last game he had 3 fantasy points after Kyle Anderson went out in the beginning of the second quarter. He had 3 fantasy points in 20 minutes or something.
So he's shooting like 4 of 22 from 3 or something really atrocious since he's gotten
It's not good. Yeah, 16 minutes, 3.2 fantasy points. So that's good.
Speaking of this game, Mike Conley plays here. Do you think that Mike Conley picks up a steal by any chance? Over under a half steal, 70 points for the over. Mike Conley swiping the ball.
I'll book it the over.
Okay. Yeah.
I like the over. I'll book that.
I figured Harden coughs one up to him.
Yeah, I have to think so. Certainly, if it's going to happen, it's likely James Harden, as he may set the single game usage record in modern NBA. Like, we're like, wow, 83% usage. I didn't think that was possible. Like, I just really, you may see some pretty amusing numbers after tonight's game. I'm just going to leave it at that.
James Harden used all of the possessions while he was on the floor.
No one else shot? Really? Nobody? James Harden took 58 shots, and that's it? Wow. He only shot 40% from the field, but he still had 134 fantasy points. That's amazing.
Do you have anything else you want to touch on from Memphis? Like, Gasol's fine. Jaren Jackson's fine. Michael Green's fine.
I legit very much like Marc Gasol.
Okay.
I like Mike Conley, too. I mean, obviously, the game environment is not supreme.
Right.
But Shelvin Mack, I think, is the slightly better upside play, in all honesty. If you're looking at one of these guys in terms, I don't recall the things, but both Garrett Temple and Shelvin Mack make pretty compelling GPP pivots off Jaylen Brown mostly. I think it's going to be different positions per site, but I like Jaylen Brown for like 7 more fantasy points. But there is a floor there for Jaylen Brown, and these guys are obviously basically sitting on the minimum and are both going to play in the neighborhood of 30 minutes. I think Temple probably plays like 34, and Shelvin Mack probably plays 28 or something. But both those guys can get there. In 150, I think I have like 2 shares of Justin Holiday, and probably Omri Caspi gets in there.
Yeah, Caspi's a guy that I've been adding to my player pool on FanDuel today, just because there doesn't seem to be anything of value elsewise at small forward, and he's the most likely benefactor for slow-mo. So,
but I will say I just because of the ceilings, I like Conley against a Houston defense that has looked really terrible for me because of the current state of the team with Harden doing everything. They just open up a lot of holes up top, and we see a lot of very strong point guard, shooting guard games against them. I'm a pretty big fan of Mike Conley in tournaments. I'm a pretty big fan of Marc Gasol against, PJ Tucker for 20 minutes and Jaren Jackson specifically on DK, though also on Yahoo, actually, where he's 18 or whatever the hell that number is just a guy who carries a bucket of upside in a game that, while not fast, we expect to stay close. Is still projected pretty close to a toss-up, I think.
It is.
I would think with Capella out, we should be sitting around neutral, maybe a point to the Rockets.
Let me double check it.
I think it was Rockets by like 3 with Capella in, so I would think
the line is 4 right now at Pinnacle.
4 for the Rockets.
Yep.
Interesting. It must have been more than I thought before. Cool.
So, of the 4 remaining games, which one is the most appealing to you from a fantasy perspective? Let's transition.
Great question. Yeah, we're going through some time.
There's a lot to talk about in those first 2 with all that Boston news.
Yeah, quite a bit. I will say just it's people amuse me in the Utah Detroit game, where these 2 teams played like 9 days ago or something, and Andre Drummond was the really, really, really shitty chalk because he was $7,900.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, I still have to have interest on that price. And he's been, accepting one game, absolutely horrible when he's on the court against Rudy Gobert. Like, if you took every other player in the NBA, which is like 500 players, and said, when Andre Drummond is on the court with this player, how many fantasy points does he score per minute, and set the sample size limit at like 100? I think Rudy Gobert might be the answer for the worst. Like he has had one massive game against him where he had 80 somehow before Blake got there. I need to go back and figure it out. But other than that, he has games with like 30 minutes, 18 fantasy points. A lot of like I had him projected for like 33 minutes in that game. And I was like, yeah, I think you get away from that bad chalk. I think he's, at $8,000 going to score in the 30s for you and be like 25% owned. I don't think you want any of that shit. And Rudy Gobert got 2 fouls in 2 minutes. Andre Drummond scored 25 fantasy points in the first quarter. And then got 20 for the rest of the game and ended up with 45, which was, not the greatest thing in the world. But it's hilarious for me that going from 7,900 to 8,700 moved him from chalky dude who was 20% owned to no one has any interest. It's just kind of amusing. Like I literally heard it's just interesting how small the range from literally number 1 center on the day to number 11 center on the day is. But it's a bad spot for him. I still think there is upside there for Blake. You don't like going into Utah. You don't like whatever. But on that same day, I said I really like Blake in this spot, which you should on a team in which Andre and Blake are dominating a lot of the usage and a lot of the production. And if you think Andre is going to do jack shit, unless you think they're just going to roll over and die, some sort of game will likely come out of Blake. And he got 60, 62 or something in that game. That's more than I project him for.
He's going to need every bit of that tonight at 10-1 on FanDuel.
Yeah, exactly. I have him right. Yeah, except FanDuel. No, that's just not happening. But like that's and Anthony Davis is a power forward on FanDuel. That's your. I mean, it's obviously possible. Sure. Because, it literally just happened in a different locale. So, you could get 60 out of Blake tonight. And if Anthony Davis gets, 55, that's going to make you some money. So, 150, I'd have 5 of them on FanDuel or something. But on DK, where it's 9,400, I don't despise it. I guess my point would be if I'm playing a Detroit player, it's Blake Griffin by a long way. I don't know who his second guy is. It's either Bruce Brown minutes suck up or Reggie Jackson played 40 minutes last game. Did you know that?
I guess I didn't.
Yeah. Like, I've said that to 3 people that are like, really? And I'm like, yeah, he played 40 minutes. He didn't do anything, but he was out there for 40 minutes.
Blake, Andre Drummond, and Reggie Jackson all played 40 minutes.
Yeah. They give Reggie some time. He didn't do shit. But it's one of those things that I would want someone to point out to me, so I pointed out to you for just like, apparently that minute ceiling is there. Ish, I think, is going to be back today, so I really doubt we see it again, but just thought you'd get a kick out of that.
What do you want to do with the Jazz side? For me, it's mostly just Mitchell. You can talk me into Gobert shares or Ingles shares. Royce O'Neal shares have crept up in price, so I don't know. I find this whole game to be relatively unappealing. 208 is the total for this game. The total of the Clippers Pelicans 240.
Yeah,
so
that's
I can't go dumpster diving too much.
Yeah, and people off today is not this case, but I mentioned this because this is a time where that really should matter to you. People frequently overrate the difference between games. Like I can't tell you how many times I have a conversation with someone and they're like, "I'm gonna go with this guy. That game's faster," and I'm like, "It's 223 as opposed to 218."
Yeah, that's
2.25%. In a vacuum, if you have those guys projected identically, that moves one guy from 40 to 40.8.
Yep.
Like that is not much of a consideration. Now, if everything else is even, yeah, okay, fantasy point matters. Get that point. But yeah, moving from 208 to 240, yeah, that's a good bit more significant. So yeah, I'm a fan of 15% extra production in a vacuum.
Yeah, it's massive.
That's a little more relevant. FanDuel, Derek Favors or DeMar DeRozan, or not Derek Favors, Donovan Mitchell or DeMar DeRozan in your one lineup?
DeMar DeRozan.
Yeah. I agree, and I imagine we have him less owned than Donovan Mitchell. That's just a guess.
Mitchell at 18. DeRozan at 21.
21, interesting. He did get on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take DeRozan in that spot.
Yeah, I slightly prefer DeRozan, though I'm really close. So that's about the thing. Yeah, Royce O'Neal, is now priced out of likely getting much. Like him getting much over 40 is really, really, really unlikely. And when he gets up towards 5K, and again, we're in a world of, it's like $300 more for Gordon Hayward at this point, and it's $1,000 less for Jaylen Brown in similar positions, and so hard to get there in a raw points. But yeah, as far as interest in having the guys, Yeah, I think you've got it right. Mitchell Ingles, favors you can talk me into if he's still cheap enough somewhere. Like he's going to get towards the top of his range. I think you get 28 minutes instead of 24 minutes out of Derek Favors here. So that's, he's just a guy who can do 3 steals and 2 blocks and randomly put together that game.
Yeah.
Gobert again, like I have no issue with it. It's just Nurkic, I think understandably in love with, and whenever you put Drummond, just common sense, you put Drummond and Gobert on the court against each other, one of them can get 20 plus rebounds, which is something you want if you're going to get their super upside, but it's a lot more likely they both get 13.
Very true.
I don't know, just factors in for me a lot. So okay, I'm done with this one. Moving on.
Let's hit some Clippers Pelicans since it has this massive total, 240. The problem in this game is that everyone's sort of priced for the Clippers where they should be. And Mirotic is back for the Pelicans. So they are full of people that play well now. So it's really hard for anyone to dramatically stand out. Obviously, Anthony Davis is a different breed. I still love him. And now that all the value is opened up, I still have a ton of him. But what are some of the highlights for you, whether it's the Clippers side or the Pel side?
Yeah, over lunch, I rewatched the majority of I rewatched the majority of 2 times they played this year. I'm pretty sure this is only the 3rd and not the 4th, but I rewatched a big chunk of 2 games against each other. And again, those were, you had a game, the last one I was watching, you had no Elfrid and no Mirotic, so that team obviously is going to play a little bit different at this point. And for the Clippers, it's changed a little bit. I want to say that I like the Clippers forwards. I like both Tobias Harris and Danilo Gallinari. I slightly prefer Harris at their prices on at least FanDuel and DraftKings. But they both had, Gallinari had I think approximately 37 and 37 in his 2 fantasy points in his 2 games this year, and Tobias Harris had 43 and 43 or something like that. And, both of them do have a ceiling. You're laughing. What's something weird happening?
37 and 37 was funny to me. Just the way that you addressed that was
fair enough. Yeah, he was. I just remember he was in the mid. He was somewhere between 35 and 40 in both games against the Pelicans.
Yeah, that one got me.
Which that's 37. Try not to suck any dick on your way through the parking lot. I don't know if you got that one, but I'm from New Jersey.
Oh, I do.
As a mandatory reference.
37 dicks.
37 dicks
in a row. In a row? Hey, try not to suck any dick on your way through the parking lot. Hey, you get back here. So good.
So good.
That's such a great.
36. I think something like 36. 36? Counting me? 37?
I love it. Anytime someone says any sort of number that's relatively high, saying in a row is just such a natural response for me that most people will not get.
Yeah, that's a very Mel Brooks joke, as in it writes itself.
Yeah.
It's a very walk this way type. It's the flow of the comedy is very natural, but it's still good. It's still good. I was talking about this the other day, where Kevin Smith has one real movie and it's excellent. Chasing Amy is an incredibly good film. The rest of it is kind of throwaway bullshit. I love it, but Jay and Silent Bob, really funny shit. Chasing Amy is a legit solid film.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed Red State.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I could always watch Dogma.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, that
Chasing Amy is good.
Alan Rickman will make anything watchable. He's on that list of just I would really watch him. I have an Alan Rickman impression. I should really
for Alan Rickman.
I should really. Pour one out. That guy died too young, but not equipped to do the job. But I'd really like to watch that guy just shop for groceries.
Yeah,
he had presence, as I say in the industry. So yeah, talking about that last super fast game, I mentioned Patrick Beverley. I have some sort of residual interest there. It's mostly on FanDuel. He's my favorite Terry Rozier pivot if you're thusly inclined to get away from it.
I agree.
Last game, 34 minutes. That's pretty exciting. Price is basically the same thing. Now, 13 fantasy points in those 34 minutes. He hasn't gotten to 20 in his last 4 games, but 5 games ago against the Suns, which is a nice matchup, 30 minutes, 33 fantasy points. So, I don't mind if you're saving money, throwing him out there next to Scary Terry. So him, the forwards, Montrezl Harrell's price has gotten back to, not sexy, but there is an upside there. So I'm not talking anyone out of Montrez or Sweet Lou in tournaments. But that's, I don't have anything other than that strong on the Clippers. How about you?
They're all just sort of if I'm playing a lot of lineups, I like rotating through this game because there's so much opportunity. So I'll have shares of Harrell. I prefer Gallo slightly to Harris, but I like them both almost equally. They're separated by less than a fantasy point. So
yeah.
So,
but I like
in the margin of error.
I think they will be under-owned for guys who feel like, A, they carry a really safe floor. Like, I'm surprised if they both don't get 30. And I'm not shocked in any way if somebody hits 53 or something. So, like, I generally think they will be, like, I have a feeling they both have ownership in the 10% range. Obviously, I get a massive spot. So they're just guys who I think will be under-owned. I'd try to get over the field on them. For the Pellies, Drew did have what I believe was his best game of the year in one of those games I was watching earlier today. Against the Clips, where he had, 70, 80 fantasy points. I remember the line, but I haven't totaled it up. But crushed. Now, there was no Elf, no Mirotic, which obviously helps him in both ways.
Sure.
But, I guess, let me rephrase this. Is there anyone on this team among the starters or Mirotic who I don't like in tournaments under any situation? No. I think like Julius Randle on FanDuel with Mirotic back. No, I'm absolutely fine with all 12 of those FanDuel and DraftKings 5 starters plus Nikola Mirotic tournaments. Knock yourself out. Do you have any objection to anyone? Like, are you avoiding Elf? We'll start there. He didn't close one game. Is Elf just a bad idea? Would you?
So he grades out well for me on FanDuel. 5,900 on DraftKings, given the amount of guard options that are out there, make me less interested, but the game itself is interesting. So I like getting to Elf if it's part of like a bigger game stack. He's $20 on Yahoo. That's not really the most appealing price for me, given where some other people are. But I agree with the take. Like, I'm on FanDuel, AD, Holiday, Randall, Mirotic, Peyton, even Eton Moore. Cool with it. I'm cool with all of those guys on DK, cool with them on Yahoo as well. I would work through most of them, but Peyton, just for me right now, isn't grading out all that well on DK. Now, he's projected for 2% ownership. That seems low.
Yeah, that seems enjoyable.
So,
no, exactly, yeah.
I could not like Elfrid Payton and play 5% of him and not have it really affect my day and still be happy about it.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's plus minuses on all these guys. Like when I ask myself which of these guys do you like the most and the least, just as how much you like them as tournament plays, not in any other criteria other than that. So not ranking them points, not ranking them it's just how much you like playing them. I think I come in with Anthony Davis first, who I do really like. I have him projected for 3. I have him at 68 fantasy points today, and I have James Harden at 71. If you're curious, I'm curious what your numbers are at.
Mine are way lower than that.
Really? All right.
Yeah, my baselines are generally pretty low. I usually use an additional standard deviation onto like the projections that I crunch, so the median is a little bit different. I have AD at 61.7. I have Harden. This is FanDuel, but same deal.
Yeah, comes up a bit on DK for both of them.
65.3 for Harden, but like mid 70. They both get to 70, the mid 70s in a perfect world.
Yeah, we have the same differential.
Yeah,
you have 3.6 between them. I have 3.5.
Yeah,
that's more. I mean, don't get me wrong. 10 points matters either way, or 6 points. I guess I had them both higher than you do. Though my numbers were DK, which does add about 3 on average, depending. It adds more for Harden than Davis. But in any case, okay. So we have them. That feels about right. So yeah, I think I have Davis first, and then after that's really interesting for who to look at second, because Mirotic hasn't seen that many minutes yet. I'm not sure he's 100%. He's looked pretty good. So, it could make an argument for Mirotic. Randall obviously carries a massive upside, but FanDuel, the position is very limiting. And the price isn't that great and has had a strong correlation with whether or not Mirotic is there as far as his production goes. Etuan Moore is cheap as hell and is getting, his 30 minutes in a fast as hell game, but now everyone is back. So what kind of usage can we really hope for out of him? Sort of the same thing with Drew. So it's really interesting scenario for me. Usually I look at teams and I'm like, okay, like him, then him, then him. We did the Celtics. Yeah. We both pretty much went 1, 2, 3, 4. On the Pelicans, I'm like, Anthony Davis, I think 1, although he's really, really expensive. And then I sit there for a minute on my 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. It's you can go a couple different directions depending on the construction that you're looking to put together. I've got 2 things for you. 1, evidently, Alan Rickman died 3 years ago today.
Aw.
which is really weird to think about because we're bringing him up today.
Yeah, that is our. I believe that is our first Alan Rickman reference on the show this year.
Yeah.
So.
And 2, if you had to project Drew Holiday's points for today, just points, regular points, not fantasy points, and you only got 95 points by getting the over, where would you land on Drew Holiday? Because you can do that sort of stuff on Thrive Fantasy. bit.ly/Osimo can get you to Thrive Fantasy.
I was going to say, this is an oddly specific question for. I would project his points at about 21.5.
19.5 is the line.
Okay,
You lose 5 points for the over, so that's tight.
Yeah, that's appropriately. So
Yeah, you probably stay away from that one.
Yeah, that would not be one of the ones I select in general because that's in the right place. You're always looking for hopefully you get some injury news or whatever the hell. Like that's the way those things can be very beatable. They had the pick 5 things on like Draft Street and Draft Day for a long time, which was just they gave you either ors and you had to pick who was going to score more. And there was a real money making scheme for a long time is you just looked for injury news and like this guy's not playing today. And you're like Kyrie would go out and you'd be like, oh shit, and you would immediately go to stop number 1. For me was fix my season-long teams. And then stop number 2 was run to all the sites running that shit and be like, did they have Kyrie versus someone? Sweet, I'll join this now and select the someone who is going to score more than 0. So it's sort of like that. I imagine that works on Thrive, right? You can what do they do if at 5 o'clock they have a Kyrie over-under thing and then Kyrie gets ruled out and can you just go pick the under and auto win that question?
No, so it won't count. And you pick 10 out of the 20, but you also pick 2 what they call ice picks. So in case of emergency, so if a guy doesn't play, that one falls off, and you get your first ice pick.
Nice. If nothing else, I find getting that acronym valuable. All right, let's let me see if I have anything else I want to throw out there. Talking about dudes.
And I was gonna start grabbing some questions like Ed Davis, Bertans, or Kuruks for DK Cash or GPP.
I would play Ed Davis in cash and Kuruks in a GPP amongst those guys.
Ed Davis and cash for me, completely agree. I'd probably lean to Bertans over Kuruks.
It would be one of those 2 for me. So
yeah.
Let's talk about that game real quick with the Charlotte San Antonio game because we didn't touch on it much. I think there's a real chance they end up going small. And the only reason I say that is because, there's the value center still, like, Biombo and Hernán Gomez. But I think you get, I actually have a non-zero amount of interest in, first of all, Tony Parker, like, it was really weird they rested him after a 12-minute game. That's all I'm saying. And,
he's old.
His coach might have spent a little time in San Antonio, a couple years. So they're going back. And I'm just saying, have we seen a starting lineup yet? That's all I'm saying. They are perfectly willing to fuck with all the guards' minutes other than Kemba Walker. I don't think it's happening. But there's a 1% chance you get Tony Parker starting. But I have Tony Parker projected for 25 minutes. I think they pull back on Graham and Monk and Lamb, who sort of mysteriously only got 26 minutes in that last game with Tony Parker resting. I'm just saying at minimum price, I have a non-zero amount of interest. I'm not saying load up by any means, but makes it a little more exciting. So
if he's playing 25 minutes, like if he's playing 25 minutes, he becomes a value play in a group of value plays.
Yeah, he's purely GPP, but I'm sure he's the minimum on Yahoo.
He's 39. On Yahoo. Yeah, he's flat 10 on Yahoo.
Yeah, I presume. But yeah, like 39, that's unfortunate. So you would hope he would be the minimum other places, but he's had random ceiling games in the past. It's not a bad spot. And it's cute. So I'll leave it there. But I do think the other reason I kind of like it by extension is I think they go small here. So I have more than a normal amount of interest in Marvin Williams, which is to say very slight as opposed to 0. I have more than a normal amount of interest in MKG, which is to say slight instead of 0. But this strikes me as one of those spots where they're maybe ending with that weird ass Tony Parker next to Lamb, next to Walker, next to MKG, next to Batum lineup. So just, I don't know.
I don't have much of these Hornets at all.
Yeah, I bring it up mostly because of a $7,900 Kemba on DK at least makes some sense as a tournament play for obvious reasons. And B, I have a little extra interest in those guys. And I guess the largest reason I bring it up is more of a cautionary exemplar for Biyombo and Hernan Gomez.
Yeah, going small here is way more likely. I think that they won't have. It's not like San Antonio, unless you're really nervous about Pau Gasol turning back the clock.
He's starting again.
He is starting again.
He's starting again. We didn't specifically discuss Nurkic. He's really turned a corner, and they're using him more, and the minutes are secure. Like, he looks great. I liked him over Jokic over the weekend when they played head-to-head, and Nurkic got in a pile of foul trouble. But against Denver in that game, he still ended up with like 38 fantasy points in 25 minutes.
He's my highest exposed center on FanDuel tonight.
Good man. He would be mine too. Like, 88 is a lot. I like him there more than DK, just due to the pricing differential. But there's obviously a massive upside. I guess we haven't said it specifically, but the last time they played, that was his, only one in NBA history or whatever, or the second one in NBA history, 5x5 2020 game. So yeah, I don't like your chances of getting the steals again, but nothing else about that line seems terribly unreasonable.
I'll take the 4x5.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll take the 71 fantasy points, and that works too. So, I guess I just wanted specifically to shout that out. I presumed you again. I enjoyed this format for our show where it's you and I touching on things and having a more open discussion and doing a little more game theory and talking about stuff, opposed to just running through the games. Because it's I think it's better, but it also comes after 4 hours or 3 hours of excellent content you guys do all day, breaking down the slate 6 times. And you've already broken down the slate once or twice, so why make you do it a third time? Right. So I think this ends up being better for everyone. So.
I like it as well. Any interest in Gary Clark today? Do you think he gets any run?
I have him projected to play 11 minutes. I don't know if that does anything for you. So no, I don't have any. He's not playable to me. No. There's other guys I would rather play at minimum price. I'd rather play Marquise Chris, and that's saying something.
Bertans or Mills in a DK GPP or cash single entry. I don't know. Apparently any tournament type.
in a poster for my wall. If I'm
definitely DraftKings.
Definitely DraftKings. I will very slightly say Bert.
Okay.
I think they want to, like, I can see a lot of ways in which you get the extra time and it flows through, and there's still no Rudy Gay, and very possibly you get like 26, 28 minutes of Patty Mills. I see a lot of ways in which he still gets under 20. And I think Bert is a little more likely, Bert, to get 24 plus. So I will hesitantly go with Bert there, but not thrilled with either one in a tournament. So I guess it might be Patty Mills in large field. So it's probably Patty Mills in large field, Bert in cash and single entry for me.
Okay.
Right.
Staying with Patty Mills here. Patty Mills and Nurkic or Horford and Dinwiddie on FanDuel.
I'll go with Patty Mills and Nurkic.
Yeah, so would I there.
I like the other one too. I mean, they're both just fine tournament pairings, but I will go with that option. Can you play 5 Celtics on DK cash? All right, so you would be playing Rozier, Brown, Hayward, I guess Horford, and can you in cash? The funny thing is, it's not the craziest idea in cash because they can't all be bad. You understand what I'm saying? Know they won't all be good. Almost certainly. You won't have 5 of them be like, wow, they all 6x or whatever stupid value criteria I'm using today. But you're going to get the guys who are.
If they were playing a different team, if they were playing the Kings.
Yeah, I'm disinclined towards. I don't think it's right. Your question was, can you? Yeah. If you had all 5 guys on the Celtics and James Harden and Nurkic and player X, that's probably a very reasonable cash lineup. I doubt it's my favorite cash lineup, if that makes any sense.
I think 4 would Hayward, Rozier, Brown, and then feel free to take your choice of Tatum, Horford, Morris.
Yeah,
on DraftKings at least.
On DraftKings, it's 3 or 4 for me. I think is the sweet spot. FanDuel, where I don't believe you are allowed to play 5 unless they've changed that recently. I do think 4 is probably the sweet spot.
Toters, I don't hate you with your questions, but Gary Clark is quite the deep dive for today.
Yeah, you're gone. It's there's a lot of good value and it's a pretty deep slate, so I do think I would be more inclined towards
We are about to be locked, and do you know what that means?
Oh my god,
we're about to find out how owned Gordon Hayward is.
I can't wait. Are you as excited as I am?
He's at 13 in our last update, I believe.
I almost want to delay the pleasure.
Mitchell and Holiday or Harden and Brown in a FanDuel GPP in a question that in no way can matter now.
Yep, we're over. Denied.
Harden and Brown, though, for me, for sure.
Yeah. No. Okay, so I'm gonna click on FanDuel first, just to further delay my DraftKings pleasure. What the hell is the big tournament today? Oh god, we're not even. All right, here it is. Oh my god, I had the hilarious thing today. So I like to do this once in a while. I go through the crappy guru suggestion thing on FanDuel with building a lineup. Have you ever done that?
I clicked on it once, and then I was just like, you know what? I don't need to keep doing this.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun. So I do it like once a month or so. I click on it today, and my third screen was like, would you like this guy who's a stud, or this guy who's a stud, or Royce O'Neal who's a stud? And I'm like, okay, close laptop gif. I was just like, okay. We may have gone a little far with the definition of stud when Royce O'Neal qualifies. All right, on FanDuel, and again, we usually like the biggest tournament. I found a Gordon Hayward lineup. What did we finish with Gordon Hayward on FanDuel for projection?
Gordon Hayward on FanDuel, 35%.
39 is what it ended up being. What did it end up being on DK? So we can be all kinds of happy.
I'm really excited to see this.
It ended up at 24.
We had 13 is the last update I have in here.
Yeah, that was the one I called bullshit on, and I don't frequently call bullshit, but yeah, that was. We were right on just about everything. Wow, we really had these numbers on. What did we have for Terry Rozier? We had 83, right?
89 was the last. Are we talking DK or FanDuel?
DK.
89.
83 is where we ended. Jaylen Brown, 49. D'Angelo Russell, 33, which again was almost exactly that's why it's really weird for me when I differ with our ownership thing.
We hit Russell on the dot on DK.
Yeah, I was about to say we got Russell on the dot on 33 and change. So it's amazing how good this. I will say this again, and please keep in mind that every single DFS company I've ever worked for, every single one, at some point someone has had to turn to me and go, Ed, we need you to shill more, and I'm awful at it. Because I'm terrible at it, which is good because I'm always on with you and Chris, and you guys can do that stuff, and I can keep my soul. Our ownership projections are staggeringly good compared to anything else I have ever seen. Like I have looked at something like 7 sets of ownership projections on a daily basis, and I have looked at 3 or 4 of them more than 10 times each, and these are staggeringly accurate compared to anything else I've ever seen. So when I occasionally turn around and go, I disagree with that one, that's because they're really, really good. And I'd like to also point out, half the time I disagree, I'm wrong and the projections were right. So I managed to get them on Gordon Hayward today, but they're freakishly accurate. To the extent that I'm like, how do they do that? Because there's so many different types of, I honestly don't know our mechanism. That's pretty goddamn impressive.
Yeah. Because we're always going to have spots where we're off. It's the math of it all.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is the fact that we're on 80-90% of the time is staggering to me.
Yeah.
Because there's so much you're pulling in from how they did in the last game and how they did here and how many times they're in theory, Twitter mentions are a relevant metric and whether or not this crappy site touts it. And there's just all sorts of things that would play into that number. So the number of times that we get it right the hell on the nose is pretty staggering for me. Here we go. Ownership on DraftKings. Number 1 by just a titch. Terry Rozier, 82.86%. Daddy likes having more. I never thought I'd say that on an 83% player, but there it is. Daddy likes more than 83%. Here's the 100% tag. I feel risky putting my 100% tag out. It makes me nervous. I don't like to do it. I don't like to put it out there because I'm telling someone, put all your money on this guy. And I kind of don't like this job sometimes. I really feel nervous playing with other people's money. Really. And I don't even have the assurance you guys have that I used to have, which is look, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Now I'm just I'm not risking shit. You put your money out there. Good luck. Makes me feel like a bit of a dick. So hopefully that works out. Jaylen Brown.
Rozier's about as safe as it gets today.
One would think. If it doesn't work out, I'm still going to think it was the right play.
If it doesn't work out, it basically doesn't even matter at this point with his ownership.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. It's he cost you nothing, and 83% of the people were right next to you. So
it's just going to bring the cut line down.
Yeah, exactly. All it will do is make the cash line will move from 310 to 290 if he dies in a bus accident or whatever. Yeah. Jaylen Brown, 49%. I guess Daddy doesn't like that. I think under 49 would be where I'd want to be. I don't have a problem with it. It's fine, but I think, wouldn't you want to be under? You're under 49 on DK.
Yeah, I would have been under 49.
Oh, you're right. You're not playing DK. You're just playing FanDuel. Family's home. Wife's home.
Wife is home.
Okay, so getting ready for nap time. I like it. D'Angelo Russell, 33.5, like we said, right on the nose. Yeah, that feels about right. I'm fine with that. Ambivalent. Gordon Hayward, 24%. Yes, I would want more of that. So would you.
Yeah.
Feels pretty juicy. Al Horford, 19.5%. That feels about right. I like that. But there's still some sort of minutes limitation, and you are, paying some sort of premium, just giving up prices other places. Marcus Morris, 15, sure. Spencer Dinwiddie, 12.3, higher than I would have thought. I bet we had him projected for less than that. 12.3 for Spencer D there.
We had him.
Never mind. Look at that. Rodions Kurucs, 9.6. Ed Davis, 8.2. Jason Tatum, 6.6. I like that at 6.6. Like, obviously this year has been, he has regressed, or as we said in my Periscope last night, digressed. Shout out to the 21 of you who get that reference.
We had Tatum at 6.
Right? See, look, you guys are all.
That feels weird, but like it doesn't. Nothing really changes for him.
Sure, that's fair. It's in theory, it's just more likely he takes 20 shots.
Yeah.
Like if he takes 20 shots and Kyrie's out there, you're like, that's really weird. How the hell did that happen? Here it's just like, I don't know. Joe Harris locked up Gordon Hayward, and he was the next guy up. Like I can sort of see. Carter listed as a starter for the Grizzlies. Really? Javon? My boy?
Oh, I'm about to pay for that one.
They're putting JC out there? Oh, they're going super small and Temple. Super duper small.
What in the world?
Only Javon and Temple. Jackson Jr. and Gasol. I would have thought it was more likely that you would have got JaMychal Green at the 3, Towers team.
Yeah, so Houston is without Clint Capella today, and the Grizzlies are thinking to themselves, you know what we should do? Today is the day to start Javon Carter.
Yeah, it's not like, let's try and win the game. I like Javon Carter. He was a guy we talked about a lot in Summer League, but he's, I will say very gently, a unrefined prospect. By the way, you have to feel great if you're either Drew Holiday or the back office for, like, the Clippers gave up, I believe, 2 second-round picks and a couple dudes for Justin Holiday, who's, like, how is he not starting here? Like, either he's not out of shape, is it just Bickerstaff giving the middle finger to the front office? Like, I don't understand.
I got nothing here.
He hasn't picked up the system yet. Like, I can't fathom how that happens. He's like, no, I want to start this Javon. Like,
I don't assume this Javon Carter news matters in any way, shape, or form, but it does outside of taking minutes from other people.
Yeah, exactly. It's a minor tick down for Justin Holiday if you were doing that, which hopefully you weren't, because again, he's generally awful and more awful on this team. Omri Caspi is a little bit worse, whatever. In theory, I guess, Gasol and Conley are 1% better, but yeah, not a significant change. But fascinating piece of information there.
Yeah,
I
don't understand the point. He's going to guard Harden. He's 6'2".
Yeah, he's reasonably thick as I recall, but
I don't get it. I mean, it's not like you need to put a good defender out there for anyone else on this team.
I assume you have Conley on. I mean, like I would have been shocked if Temple did. Like Temple's the guy you wanted. You wanted Slow-Mo out there. In fairness, Slow-Mo is a. Also, it's humorous because Slow-Mo and James Harden are the two guys who are temporal wizards in the NBA with the ability to really slow down time. Like they're both guys who I occasionally look at and go like, I don't understand how you run full speed that slow. Like they're just the two guys I look at once in a while and go, that doesn't like. That's why they call him Slow-Mo.
That's how you run in dreams.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like he's frolicking through a meadow with unicorns in my dreams with a Kardashian or something. Like I'm always like, that's peculiar. Like that's why they call him Slow-Mo. He has this really weird gait that makes him hard to guard. Because other people are like, yeah, he cut left and I went left. And then like 2 seconds later he showed up. And by then I was like, where'd he go? And it's a really weird thing. And then Harden is just world class at the change of velocity thing. But anyway, Gordon Hayward more. And anyway, we did that. We did Dinwiddie. We did Kurucs. We did Ed Davis. We did Tatum. Joe Harris 5.2. Jared Allen 4.5. Brad Wanamaker 3%. Your thoughts?
It's probably a skosh too high.
That's I doubt we see the ceiling game there. Damari Carroll 2.5, Daniel Tice 1.8. That's on Bainesy's still out there. Kenneth Reed 0.82, Shabazz 0.60. Congratulations, you played yourself.
Had to get it eventually.
0.3% Shabazz. That news was out like 3 hours ago.
Kudos everybody on that one.
There's some Alan Williams ownership, but no Alan Rickman.
If they found a way to roster Alan Rickman, that would have been interesting.
Big sauce. Yeah.
Pour one out to Alan Rickman today. 3 years.
That guy, just a wonderful voice. Benedict Cumberbatch does a fine Alan Rickman impression. It's one that's
I will seek that out.
Yeah, that's one that's worth. I haven't done it yet. My whole British, I can do a passable Cockney and a couple other things, but I can't do the Alan Rickman. I'll try to work it out. No promises.
There we go. Anything else?
I don't know. We should do shows more often. These are fun. Like I always end up taking like Thursdays off, and like you're a slacker, so you only do like 2 of the late week. I'm just kidding. You're not a slacker. You just 9 hours of content before I show up every day. So then I show up, and you and I end up doing 1.3 shows a week. I miss you. I miss your Musk.
I miss you too.
Okay. Thanks.
If you miss us and you want to play against me on Thrive Fantasy, use bit.ly/Osimo to sign up. 10 on 10, 20 on 100, 50 on 200, or enter live before lock as the promo code for 50% off your first month.
Give up your soul to me.
That's everything, everybody. Good luck with your 90% Terry Rozier shares. If you faded him, I don't know. Probably take a couple days off after that.
I'll take over 90.
And I'll see you guys at the top of tournaments.
See you at the flip. See you on the flippity flip.
Later.